It's 1966 at the North Bend Psychiatric Hospital. The place feels creepy and dangerous. Outside, a huge storm is roaring. Inside, the empty hallways echo with footsteps. The sound stops at a door with the name Tammy on it. Inside, a frightened woman named Tammy stares at the door like she knows something bad is coming. Suddenly, the door bursts open. Something invisible rushes in and grabs her. It strangles her, and she dies. The next day, in the woods, police search for a missing woman named Kristen. She hides behind trees until she finds an old, empty farmhouse. For no clear reason, she sets it on fire and calmly watches it burn. When the police arrive, they find her staring at the flames. Instead of taking her to jail, they send her to the same hospital from before. A nurse named Roy takes her to a special part of the hospital. Nurse Lund shows her a room that used to belong to Tammy. She takes down Tammy's name and puts Kristen's name instead, then locks her inside. That night, Kristen sees a strange image in her mind, a girl chained in a dark room. But she can't remember more. Later, her blanket is pulled away by something she can't see. She finds a string of beads with letters on them, but doesn't know what they mean. In the morning, Dr. Stringer and Nurse Lund visit her. Kristen tells them what happened, but they don't believe her, saying the door was locked all night. Lund gives her medicine, but Kristen secretly crushes it under her foot instead of swallowing it. Outside her room, Kristen meets the other patients. Zoey acts like a little kid. Emily asks if Kristen came to save them, but Iris stops her from scaring Kristen. Sarah is mean and unfriendly. Later, Dr. Stringer calls Kristen to his office. She asks why she's being kept there, but he doesn't answer. Instead, he asks about her memories. Kristen only remembers burning the farmhouse. He shows her a picture of her hand with the farmhouse's address written on it, but she doesn't know how it got there. She also notices a hidden camera behind a one-way mirror. When it's time for medicine again, Nurse Roy makes sure she swallows it. After he leaves, Kristen uses a tool she took from Stringer's desk to unlock her door and tries to escape. But Roy catches her and brings her back. That night, the storm gets worse. Heavy footsteps echo in the hallway. A strange, deformed woman stares at Kristen through the small window in her door, then disappears. The next day, Iris asks if she can draw Kristen's picture. While they sit together, Kristen notices two people watching from far away. The others call them the sad people but don't explain more. Kristen talks about the strange woman she saw, but nobody answers. Later, the patients relax and listen to music. Even a quiet boy joins in, but the lights flicker because of the storm. In the dark, the ghost appears again, scaring everyone. The lights come back, but the fear stays. That night, while Kristen takes a bath, the ghost appears again. It grabs her throat and almost chokes her. Nurse Lund rushes in and pulls her away, but doesn't believe Kristen. She says Kristen is imagining it and gives her an injection to calm her down. When Kristen wakes, she's strapped to an operating table. Dr. Stringer says the medicine isn't working. He puts a mouth guard in her mouth and suddenly orders electroshock therapy to calm her. Kristen is left weak and confused before being taken back to her room. The next morning, everyone gathers for group therapy. Emily smiles in a creepy way and asks what happened to Kristen. Dr. Stringer calls it unscheduled therapy. Emily's words make Kristen think about Tammy, the patient who disappeared. Kristen asks who Tammy was, and Iris says Tammy was the last patient to leave before Kristen came. Before they can say more, Dr. Stringer ends the talk. Later, Emily tries to comfort Kristen. Soon after, Iris comes in, happy and excited. She says she's about to have her last session with the doctor and thinks she's cured, even though Stringer never told her she could leave. In her session, Stringer looks at her drawings and says she's getting better. But his face changes when he sees one drawing, a dark, shadowy figure. Other patients have drawn the same thing before. Wanting to know more, he hypnotizes Iris with a swinging metronome, taking her mind back to something from 10 years ago. When they finish, he tells a nurse that Iris is asleep in his office. But when Nurse Lund checks, Iris is gone. Somewhere else in the hospital, Iris is tied to a wheelchair, moving down a dark hallway. She looks up to see who's pushing her and becomes terrified. The invisible ghost pushes her into a room and kills her by stabbing something into her eye. Back in the ward, Kristen starts to worry when Iris doesn't return. She asks Nurse Lund about her, but Lund ignores her and tells everyone to go to bed. At breakfast the next morning, Kristen is still worried, but no one else seems to care. Later in her room, Kristen finds Iris's sketchbook. She knows Iris would never leave it behind if she had been sent home. Looking through it, she sees a pretty drawing of a girl named Alice and another scary drawing of the same ghost, with a name Alice Hudson written next to it. Kristen remembers the beads she found earlier. She lines up the letters and they spell Alice. This makes her think Alice might have been a patient at the hospital before. She shows this to Dr. Stringer, but he only tells her to find the truth on her own. Kristen asks the other patients. Emily looks scared but admits Alice used to be there and left. Kristen can tell she's not telling the whole truth. She warns them that if they stay, they'll be killed next. Emily agrees to escape with her, but Sarah and Zoey refuse. That night, Kristen uses the stolen metal tool to unlock her door and free Emily. They sneak through the hospital and hide from the staff until they reach the morgue. But when they hear footsteps, they hide again. When Kristen comes out, Emily is gone. She hears banging inside a storage cabinet and opens it, thinking Emily is trapped, but instead, a pale hand with claws shoots out at her. She falls back in shock and runs toward the main exit. Then, a voice calls out Alice. Kristen turns and sees the ghost again. Before she can react, everything goes black. She wakes up to find Nurse Roy standing over her. The next morning, Kristen wakes with a bad headache. Sarah asks what happened, and Kristen says they never found Iris. Sarah blames Emily. Later, Sarah plays with a pocket mirror and sees the ghost standing behind her. Before she can move, Alice grabs her. Sarah is taken to the operating room. She sees the ghost clearly and calls her Alice. Begging for her life, Sarah says it wasn't her idea, but Alice doesn't listen. She straps Sarah down and shocks her with so much electricity that it kills her. The power surge makes the hospital lights flicker. Back in the ward, Kristen knows something bad has happened and calls for Sarah, but no one answers. Zoey starts crying, and Kristen notices her toy has the initials AH, Alice Hudson. Zoey finally tells the truth. She says Alice was mean to all of them. Tammy made a plan to get rid of her. Zoey tricked Alice into going into Tammy's room, where the others were waiting. Together, they killed her. Now Alice's ghost is back, killing them one by one. Kristen is confused. Why would Alice attack her if she wasn't part of the plan? Before she gets an answer, Emily runs away, scared. Kristen and Zoey chase her, but Emily says she'd rather die than be killed by Alice. Kristen tries to stop her, but Alice appears and helps Emily kill herself. Shaken, Kristen and Zoey decide they must escape. Kristen pretends to take Zoey hostage so the staff won't stop them. But the plan fails when they get trapped in an elevator. Kristen fights back, even biting one of the staff, but Dr. Stringer and Nurse Lund catch her. Lund injects her with a drug that knocks her out. Kristen wakes in her room, tied in a straitjacket. She struggles until she finally gets free. That night, when Nurse Lund checks on her, Kristen knocks her out and does the same to Nurse Roy when he tries to stop her. With Zoey, she runs toward the hospital's main exit, avoiding staff along the way. They find a dumbwaiter, a small lift that can only carry one person at a time. Zoey goes first because she's lighter. But when the lift reaches the top, Alice is there waiting. Kristen hears Zoey scream. The lift comes back down empty. Horrified, Kristen rides it up to the upper floor and finds only a trail of blood. She follows it and comes face to face with Alice. The ghost throws her around easily. In desperation, Kristen grabs a fire axe and hits Alice, hurting her badly, then runs. She bursts into Dr. Stringer's office and finds a file with Alice's name and the names of all the other patients, including her own. Stringer walks in, and Kristen demands the truth. This time, he tells her everything. Kristen's real name is Alice. 8 years ago, when she was 11, she was kidnapped and locked in the basement of the same farmhouse she later burned. She was chained there for 2 months. The trauma was so bad that her mind broke, creating different personalities to protect her. Each patient in the hospital was actually one of those personalities. Over time, the hospital worked to bring them all together into one mind. But the personalities didn't trust each other, and they pushed the real Alice deep down, almost killing her. Kristen was the last personality to appear, created to be the toughest one, protecting the others from the truth. But now that the other personalities are gone, she is next to disappear so the real Alice can return. Using hypnosis, Stringer makes Kristen face her memories. The ghostly Alice appears, grabs Kristen, and jumps out the window with her. At that moment, the real Alice wakes up and takes control again. We then see the sad people from earlier. They're actually her parents, coming to visit her. Stringer asks if she remembers everything now. Alice says she does, and that she no longer needs to run from her past. In the final scene, Alice packs her things to leave the hospital. She opens her bathroom cabinet, and the screen suddenly cuts to black, ending the movie in a chilling way.